Through the ups and downs, we stand tall in this journey of growth. Day by day, through the ups and downs,
Good morning.
we stand tall in
Morning, Juliet. How you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. How are you?
Oh, yeah, nice and feeling awake this morning, actually.
Good.
What should we talk about today, then?
Introduce our topic.
Yes, so we're going to be looking at self-awareness today, then.
Okay.
So, what it really means, why it's essential, and how it can completely change your life, perhaps.
Wow.
If you're not,
That's
do
a
you think?
rather big claim. Tell me, I'm not self-aware enough to know what self-awareness is.
Okay,
That's a
so
little bit of a lie.
Yeah, that is a bit of a lie, isn't it, really? Let's be honest here.
But tell us, what's
Are you
self-awareness?
self-aware enough to be honest? So self-awareness is the ability to consciously recognize and understand your own thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, and how they align with, obviously, like we spoke about before, with your values and how
Okay.
you can impact others as well. And I think there's two massive key key aspects, sorry. So the internal self-awareness. So obviously how you understand your own emotions, your strengths and weaknesses, and your triggers as well as your values. I think, 'cause obviously we spoke about values last week. We haven't really done anything about things that may trigger us. And then being able to reflect on your sort of motivations and your patterns of behaviour as well. So just understanding sort of how your patterns of behaviour may sort of affect your awareness, and then the external self-awareness, so being aware of how others perceive you and understanding the impact your actions and words have on those around you. So maybe seeking feedback then. So perhaps I'd ask you if, is this, the way that I approached this okay with you? And then if you were to go, no, actually, that was not the kind of information I was after, I'd be like, oh, I completely misunderstood the situation. And that's
Okay.
me being then self-aware back on you, I would say.
That's very interesting. And then, are we supposed to adapt the way we are if we have a self-awareness? Are we supposed to adapt?
Because you could go backwards and forwards constantly, couldn't you? Because I could be like, oh, I wasn't aware that I triggered your emotion. And then you could be, well, that and that. So if I say it this way, no, that triggers this. And then you could be there all day, couldn't you? If you're backwards and forwardsing on the reflection, I suppose, and asking for feedback. I suppose it's got to stop somewhere, hasn't it?
Yeah. And what about how people come across how does this fit in? So I think when people talk about self-awareness more generally, they're meaning perhaps someone's awareness of themselves in a group situation, maybe whether they talk too much and take over the conversation, or whether they, I was talking to someone last night who's being really brought down by a colleague at work because the colleague arrives and spends the entire day talking about their problems in quite an aggressive, dramatic way, and then leaves. And the person that I was speaking to is, their entire life is being affected by it, to the point that they're actually not even doing the things anymore that benefit their mental health. Now, what should happen?
They're taking on the other person's problems.
I think it's just bringing them that it's bringing their mood down so much. Listening to this for the day, so that I would imagine is so where this person is concerned, they're not self-aware enough to know that what they're doing is causing other people problems. But then, is it actually the other person who's just not expressing their boundaries enough?
Yeah. Because I wouldn't sit there all day listening to somebody. But then, could then I be seen to be not empathetic enough if I was in a work environment? But I think that's perhaps on the other person as well, being self-aware enough to not be offloading in a workplace because it's not the right the right environment to be doing so, or to pick up on the social cues of the other person not actually being open to hearing it if they,
Yeah, and
do you
everybody.
think, or
it's a really difficult one to come up with exactly like you say, you've got one person who's not feeling comfortable with the conversation, whose mental health is being affected by the conversation, but isn't putting in any boundaries and is being a good listener and a good, what we would determine perhaps a good friend and empathetic by listening. However, are they enabling this person?
Yeah. If they're not asserting, if they don't like that kind of behaviour and they're not asserting their boundaries, then
Are
are they
they
enabling?
Well, are they?
Yeah,
Yeah, are they
are they?
enabling them to not do anything
Because
about it?
because then the person doesn't know that they're being over the top. They might think that
Well,
this
also
person is actually open to hearing
they're stuck in their problems.
them.
Whereas if this person said, "I can't listen to this anymore because it's bringing me down," it might, and perhaps provide a number for a therapist. It might just give that person the nudge they need to do something about their problems, so they don't have to spend their entire day moaning about their problems.
Yeah. But then, have you ever set a boundary like that? Because I have more recently, and it didn't go very well.
Have I ever?
So is that then my how I asserted my perception of their awareness onto them?
I am not sure I've so clearly set a boundary, but I think I have. But I think I've not done it in that. I know you did it very much in the I don't have the capacity for this. Please, can you not do it? I think maybe I've done it more by suggesting something different.
So perhaps delivery as well. You're more self-aware in your delivery.
No, I don't think so. I think it's perhaps the nature of the situation. Perhaps it's been with a client, for example, where I'm obviously not going to suggest that they go and see a therapist when I am a therapist, but I'm obviously
but
also
that's in the correct environment though for somebody to be offloading their problems. Say if we're using that example, that is the right environment.
Yes. However, I don't believe I would be being a very good therapist if I just sat back and let someone come each week and just moan about what had happened in the day, and I didn't at some point say, we're not going to get anywhere here. If you just spend your entire time moaning about the people that have annoyed you at work, we're not going to get to any point. And so there is absolutely a space for that. But sometimes people do come and spend their entire time moaning about stuff that's gone on, and it's just literally a dump of stuff that's bothered them, and that's why they come. But other people are not coming for that reason, and they get stuck in the loop, and then we have to pull them out of it.
Yeah. And do you find that happens quite a lot?
No.
So you don't find that people sort of will come and use you as a dumping ground as such do you think that you have more self-aware clients as such?
I think I have more self-aware clients, and I've definitely had clients who say, I don't want to spend all my time talking about them.
They're there for a reason, and they understand the reason that they're there.
Exactly.
Or they wouldn't be sitting in the chair in the first place.
Exactly that. So how self-aware do you think you are? How
I'd
self-aware
like
do you
to
think you are?
Well, this is it, isn't it? So I think that I am quite self-aware. Like I'm open to feedback. So even if it's harsh, I quite welcome it.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not sure that perhaps people feel that they can give me feedback because of the way that I possibly come across. So that could be a barrier, I suppose, to getting the feedback.
So how do you think you come across?
I think I can come across as quite sharp, as in, I suppose I don't know, maybe people would think that they couldn't come and criticize me or give me some sort of feedback, I think.
Why?
Is that
Why?
your perception? I don't, because I presume because I think I'm quite. Um, I'd give my feedback in a direct. I'm direct, so I just feel like there's nothing really to hide as such. So if there was something that was in my blind spot, I'd be like, wow, I really didn't know that. And so therefore I'd be quite willing to sort of open to a conversation about it. But I just do feel that perhaps people that know me quite well wouldn't approach me in that way.
Is there anything, are you, so I'm talking from my experience here
Mm.
of myself, and I'm
Yeah.
wondering if you're the same. Are you self-aware of aspects of yourself that you try to hide from other people, or are you completely authentic and take it or leave it, this is me?
Different situations, I definitely do sort of, I suppose, calm it down. There's, I definitely think that I overthink things when it comes to, which is what self-awareness isn't it? Is overthinking, sort of, and obsessing over everything you do or you say.
Yeah.
I suppose it's kind of, if you're in my company, and definitely more recently, there's a reason that you're in my company and not the fact that I just go out and I wouldn't be in front of people if I didn't want to be.
Okay. And
So I choose my audience, perhaps.
yeah, do you ever feel your audience affect who you are?
In a professional environment, definitely. I think I wouldn't be as dependent if there was in corporate and in therapeutic. I definitely am completely different. And then obviously you've got the social aspect. So maybe there's three different.
And so
I don't know, three different person.
maybe that would demonstrate a level of self-awareness, because
Mm,
you're aware enough of what parts of yourself to bring out
mm,
in certain situations.
yeah. And then I suppose, yeah. And I tend not to judge myself too much about it either, I suppose. It's like, well, like you say, people, they either like you or they don't they, at the end of the day?
And do you worry about that?
Uh, Not really.
So that's the classic self-awareness, what we would think of self-awareness. What about how aware of you are you of yourself, your values, your
Well, only more recently I've been looking into the values, and particularly from a session that you did as well on values and really sort of diving into them a lot more deeply. So I suppose more recently I've sort of dived into dove into the values aspect of it. So, but I yeah, I don't know. You'll probably be a better judge of how self-aware I am. In
oh,
your opinion, given how long you've known me, do you think my self-awareness has changed?
um oh, has it changed?
Because
Uh
that was one thing when we sort of said about this subject. I thought, oh, I wouldn't mind asking you. Do you think, yeah, do you think my self-awareness has changed as a friend over time? Or,
I don't feel like it necessarily has other, but I feel like you do more work on yourself.
mm,
You're more
is that
bothered about things.
self-awareness then? Is it, in your opinion, in doing more work on yourself?
I think that it means that you've got more, you're more conscious.
Mm,
So before if you didn't really think about your values and you just lived life every day with what was put in front of you,
mm,
maybe there's a lack of self-awareness. But it's deeper than that, isn't it? I think though you
yeah,
weren't really doing much self-exploration, although you dabbled here, that
yeah.
you'd go through phases, and
So,
so
yeah, it's definitely a good example.
but
But how do you think your self-awareness has changed over time and
well,
your level of it?
I'm certainly someone who tries to hide parts of myself that I might not like.
Okay.
And what's happened is, in more recent years, some friends have said straight out, "Oh, you're so like that," or "You're so like that," and said the one thing that I've tried to hide.
Ah, that's interesting.
And so I realised that no matter how much I try and hide something, I actually can't. So that's interesting. So now I realise I might as well own all of the aspects of myself and just show them.
Yeah. Well, in any environment as well? Or would you still hold things back in?
I
Or
think,
is it
like
just part of
you,
what
I
makes you you?
choose my environments.
Mm.
And what I struggle with, and we have, this is touching on what we talked about the other day when I said about my face looking like I'm going to shoot someone.
Do you want to explain that though? Did you say
I
that?
should explain that, shouldn't
Yeah.
I? So I find that I in many social settings I get feedback that is not in alignment with the person I am. And I've had feedback, I've been told that someone's friend thinks I'm scary. I've been told
Scary in what way? As in intimidating?
I guess so. I've been told, "Oh, we used to think that you were really posh." Well, I'm so not posh. Because I used to wear like bracelets and things, which I never do these days.
Jingly jangly bracelets.
Yeah. And my friend the other day saying, sometimes the expression on my face when they're having a conversation with me, well, she didn't say it about me, actually. She said it about someone else and suggested that maybe this is a difficulty. On my authentic relating
I was
training,
going to say about
what did
that,
they
that you did a
say?
course on it, didn't you?
Well, it was my authentic relating, and the instructor, I don't think they're called an instructor, facilitator, she said they didn't feel like she'd got to know me, and she thought I was hiding under a veil of professionalism. She did say, based on her, she said, "This is what I do." So she was thinking, I think she was kind of thinking I was mirroring her. And the thing that I was talking about, another person's feedback was, I say something and then I say it again, just with different words, and then I'll kind of say it again with
That's a
just different words.
skill.
That's one of the things that I might try not to do, but clearly I can't help it.
But how far do you take this when it comes to changing yourself?
Well, I
Then just
can't. I
because
have to
somebody
own it.
else, yeah,
That's something I have to own, and it's the kind of thing that I might have tried not to do and might have tried to hide, but realizing that I clearly can't stop it and can't hide it. I mean, we did acknowledge that this was an authentic relating training, so I wasn't supposed to be trying to be inauthentic. But interestingly, what the other woman said, this veil of profession, this was just not true at all. It's just that I can be quiet in situations, but also um, I I could have I could have dominated the conversation. I had enough to say that I could have done, but it just would have detracted away from the course of what we were doing. So I chose to just listen.
Because you had a level of self-awareness.
Well, quite possibly, but maybe it wasn't right, because she said, there's more to it, because we didn't go in breakout rooms together, etc., etc., and it would be quite a lot to explain. But the point is, I wasn't doing what she says I was doing, and I know I wasn't doing what she says I was doing, because there have been situations in my life where I have done that.
Yeah.
So I know I wasn't, but that's how she perceived me. And so I struggle sometimes, because I absolutely come up, and I don't believe I'm scary. I believe I'm a little bit quiet and sensitive. But I am confident.
Yeah.
And those two don't really match up, because then.
But do you think that when somebody gives you feedback like that, though, does that make you want to be more self-aware? Like, if it's something you think, well, I don't think that's actually true.
No, what it makes me want to do. So, for example, I know the person who said I was scary, and I like that person. They're a friend of a friend, and I have made an effort to try and let that person get to know me.
Right. Okay.
And so I'd rather do that than try and change myself more.
Mm.
And I, in fact, I said to a friend recently that to some extent, this has benefited me because the people I've got around me are really inspiring people. And do I want to change myself to make myself favourable to everybody? Or am I happy to kind of stick with the people who are really happy with the real me?
Yes, that's a good example, because you then got the right people around you, so it doesn't matter, because you are being your true self. So those that aren't accepting of that will remove themselves.
Yeah, exactly. So what do we think are indicators of true self-awareness?
I suppose being aware of how you interact with others, maybe, or how you make other people feel.
How you
For
make other
external,
people feel.
yeah.
That's an interesting one, isn't it? How you make other people feel.
Because
Because if you
I know that I can, manipulate situations. Definitely, as we used that word before, in manipulation,
influence.
influence.
And what do you mean by that?
Like, as in, I know that I can. I suppose here's an example of. I suppose with Frank, say, this drives me mad with other people's lack of self-awareness, is basically I will. I'll say I'll be walking Frank, and my dog is very reactive on the lead. So he's a great big German Shepherd. So I'll be walking along, and people won't read my body language, say, and me keeping hold of my dog, and they'll let their off lead dog come up to my dog, who does not like that unless it's somebody that he knows. And I can either choose to be calm and read the situation and keep the situation calm and use nice words, even though I feel that the other person has a complete lack of self-awareness on the situation, and not escalate the situation. Or I can choose to then be extremely firm in the fact that, no, I've got to recall your dog, and it could escalate the situation further, but you have to read it as it is, perhaps, but I'm in control of that, I've realised. So maybe that's the sort of the self-awareness, because it can escalate situations, and one nearly did at the weekend. So, and that's fully in my control, I suppose. So I can manipulate the situation to either be calm or not. In that, I'm talking about in the situation with off-lead dogs.
Yeah.
But I could choose every time to be all calm and, oh, don't worry, that's okay. When I don't mean it, I want to be like, get your dog away. Because that's what the real Angela would be saying if you weren't being,
Yeah. And how much do you think people can see through the nice words?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because when a dog came up to him the other day, and I was very much like, no, don't worry about it. But obviously, my dog is chomping at the bit, and I've kind of walked past. They're very much scuttling off with their little dog in their arms because, I'm probably through gritted teeth.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it's fine.
And tone of voice.
Ventriloquist done. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I suppose that's it. Or in a work environment as well. You can. There's ways of asking questions, I suppose, that would manipulate or influence a situation where you would be. Can you just do it?
Yeah.
Just get
So
on with it.
I see then a gap between you've got what you're really feeling and the reaction the only way you know how, and then to express that feeling. And then you've got the kind words that you think are the right thing to say to make the situation calmer. But there's a middle ground. which is
What's the middle ground?
being really authentic and saying how you feel.
Or there's a lot of nasty words that may come out then.
No, but there's not, is there? Because how are you actually feeling?
um,
What are you
what
actually feeling?
in what situation?
Well, that one, for example, if someone's dog comes running up to you, I mean,
I'm defensive of my dog, so I don't want to put my dog in a situation where he could either hurt another dog, or he could get hurt himself. So
what's the
I'm
underlying?
very defensive.
What's the underlying
Is
feeling?
the full fear is he could be taken off me and put down.
It's fear.
Yeah.
It's fear. So if you were to say to that person, I'm really scared right now because my dog's reactive.
I have actually said, if one bite from my dog and your dog is dead.
That's not
I've
saying
said
how
that to
you
someone
feel.
before.
Yeah, that's not the right one.
I'm really scared. My
But
dog's
no,
getting taken off.
this is
Yeah.
my authentic relating training in practice.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant.
No, if you were to say all the
Yeah.
time how you're feeling, I'm really scared right now because my dog's reactive. That's no need for the harshness of get your dog away right now. There's no need for that, but there's also no need for you to be fake. It's all fine.
Yeah. Yeah. But then would other people, so there was a situation at the weekend with an off-lead dog, and the other person's response is, you should all be in a field if your dogs are reactive. You should all be, they should allow their dog. So in that case, if you were to say that you were scared, if it is each situation different, and you have to read the situation.
How does
Because
that
that person would not, if you turned around and said, I'm scared that my dog is, I'm scared about the situation at the moment, I don't think a lot of people would take that because they're not aware enough themselves.
I think they might, but if they argued back, you don't have to engage in an argument. Simple.
Yeah. Job
Easy.
done. Next.
You know what,
What's
though?
an example for you, though, do you think, for that kind of situation?
Of what? What?
Of how you would how you have handled and how you would handle something differently.
Well, I think that I'm similar to you, and I cover up with the nice words. I think it's definitely a work in progress where that's concerned. But I'd like to be able to know that quickly in a situation what I'm actually feeling.
See, that's it. Can you learn it that quickly so that you can articulate yourself better?
It's that what you mentioned at the beginning, isn't it? Knowing your triggers.
Yeah.
And how they make you feel. We're so used to reacting quickly. But it's amazing, I think, when you can really uncover what you're actually feeling, and rather than blaming someone else or attacking someone else, just be vulnerable and authentic and say what you're really feeling.
And do you respect that in another person then?
Yeah, I love it when people are able to do that. I have got a friend, at least a friend, if not more, who really do that, and yeah, I love it.
What do you love about it?
I love it. I just like that. I just
You
think.
seem very passionate.
Do I look like I'm going to shoot you?
No.
They
Or maybe you're not then.
Same friend actually. See?
Maybe you're not as passionate as you say you are.
I
Look like you're going to shoot me, or I won't believe you.
I really appreciate that it feels really honest. I think is the thing. It feels really honest, and I feel like you can really get to know somebody properly.
Is that important to you then?
Yeah. Yeah. It is important. Having had some real superficial relationships and superficial conversations, that I find quite difficult.
What's a superficial conversation to you, though?
Something with no depth.
Like small talk.
Small talk. Yeah.
Yeah.
About all the kind of peripheries of life, like what's the children doing at school? How's your job going? Are you busy? What are you doing for Christmas? Any holidays planned?
Like a hairdresser conversation.
Yeah, like a hairdresser conversation. This is some people's conversations,
Like, but not
all their
meaningful.
conversations. Yeah. And some people are so happy with that, and that's great.
But sometimes, in the example of being at a hairdresser's, perhaps, you would want to have that conversation because you don't really want to. I don't want to have a deep and meaningful conversation with my hairdresser.
No?
Perhaps.
You don't
No.
ask your hairdresser what are your problems?
No.
I can have quite deep and meaningfuls with my hairdresser, actually.
Mm.
So whether that's the hairdresser or whether that's me.
Yeah.
But we're talking hairdressers, not
Yeah.
not
Not
friends.
people, not your friends. Yeah.
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 So, but then maybe you're just those friends are just having that conversation with me. Maybe with other friends, they're having deep and meaningful.
Whether or not they feel they can open up to you.
Yeah. Perhaps
Or they
that's
want to open up to you.
Lack of self-awareness.
Yeah. So self-awareness is more, so because I'm thinking about intuition as well, but then that's subconscious, isn't it? Whereas self-awareness is the conscious aspect of it.
I think self-awareness is probably quite conscious, isn't it?
Mm.
How can we develop it?
Mm.
I mean, I know somebody who did a friend appraisal. Now, I think this was a brilliant idea, yet I've never gone on to do it.
Yes, you told me about this. Yeah.
So they...
I'll be as bold.
Yeah, they sent a list of questions, maybe 4 questions, to perhaps their 5 closest friends.
Mm.
Things like, is there anything I could do differently to be a better friend? Kind of those kind of questions. Now, I thought this was brilliant. I would wonder whether anyone would come back with real constructive criticism. That's taking friendship to another level, isn't it? But what do you think of that?
I'd quite like it. It's self-indulgent, isn't it? So,
well,
like quizzes and things like that. I think it's that kind of thing, isn't it? Sort of like, oh, what's it going to be?
Well, maybe you
it's
could
kind of
make a quiz with
ABC. Self-awareness quiz. Yeah.
So that's more a kind of how other people perceive you. But then, what about how can you develop your internal self-awareness?
So I suppose it's doing the work, like you said, on the values aspect of it, I suppose, as well.
And boundaries.
And then working on triggers as well, like we said before. That's something that I could probably do with more work on, definitely. Things that trigger me.
Triggers and what you're actually feeling.
Yeah.
Because there's actually a lot of different feelings, obviously. I mean, have you seen these great things? Obviously, we're on the camera, so no one can actually see them, but I can speak about them. These nonviolent communication feelings and needs cards.
Oh.
So you've got I don't know how many. I'd want to say it's a normal size pack of cards, which is what, like 52, is it? And it's got all different feelings, and then there's the same for needs. So the feelings, there's eager, vulnerable, frustrated, surprised, inspired, angry. So there's heaps of different feelings, but really you could nail it down to 5, couldn't you? And that you feel regularly, with perhaps 5 different triggers that happen, like the dogs. That's got to happen to you multiple times a week.
Yeah, definitely.
And you're feeling the feeling you have inside of you I guess changes a little bit depending on the other person's reaction, but
yeah, definitely.
it's probably, again, you could probably get it down to a few different feelings.
And
so if you've got all of that written down, like you have your values and your boundaries, if you've got your triggers written down as well and what they make you feel, then it's quite easy to say in those moments, I'm feeling really whatever right now. And actually, if you were to do nonviolent communication, you would follow it up with a need, which is like they're here to be heard, space, choice, appreciation, ease. So in your situation, you could do that. Like, I'm feeling really scared right now. I need a lot of space. We need a lot of space.
Yeah. But you can put that on a lead and on a vest and people will still ignore it on dog walks.
Yeah.
So sometimes you only do have that, direct verbal conversation to have.
Yeah.
Like you say, it's situational, isn't it?
It is situational. Journaling, I guess, is a good way to become more self-aware. Do you journal?
I do, not every day, but I do. I use it. I tell you what I do is I have an academic diary with a page a day, and I use it as my note taking for writing things down in the day, as well as journaling throughout the day or in the evening, perhaps, but not necessarily in the way that you would possibly consider journaling to be, as in your diary. But when situations arise, I definitely do journal on them.
Yeah. So who do you think you are compared to how you come across internally? Who are you?
Yeah, so internally, I don't know, that's a good question, isn't it?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah. Who am I?
Who are you?
So I'd say I suppose internally, I'd see myself as being the protector. I don't know, are we talking in the words that we'd use to describe ourselves?
Yeah.
Or, yeah, I suppose the protector of my dog and my daughter. Definitely. Yeah, it's a really difficult question, to be quite honest with you. So I suppose I've not really thought about it in that aspect of like, yeah, I see myself as a protector, I suppose.
I'm thinking of, so when you listened back to one of these, you said, "Oh, I speak over you a lot," but you didn't realise that.
No,
and it's not a problem. But who did you think you were compared to who you were being?
I suppose I thought I was a good listener then, and then, but then
Which you are
taking
as
the
well.
social. Oh, let's see who's. Yeah, but I suppose that in that way, I did think that I was a good listener, and then you kind of, when you listen to yourself back, you then think, oh no, I didn't give you the space that you needed to speak at that time. Perhaps
you think, actually, I'm a good talker.
Yes, I know I'm a good talker, but then, yeah, I suppose as you see yourself as the outer person, I suppose, yeah, I can talk a lot.
But internally, is that who you are?
I talk to myself a lot, so yeah.
That's a good point.
And
I talk to myself all the time.
Yeah, and this is a thing though about the audio and visual in your mind. See, I have and it is my voice in my head, because I did check this after we'd spoken about, I think we said something about the voices in my head. So I was like, oh, and then it says, I don't know if I asked ChatGPT, and I was like, oh, because I think I was trying to explore the audio and visual that people have I think it might have possibly been when I was speaking to a client, and it was more about their internal voices versus not voices, but their internal, how they learn better, basically. And are they more visual and or more verbal? And then I was like, the voices in there, but it's your own voice in your head, not like, oh, here.
So
I speak a lot in my head. I have a lot of internal communication.
So this whole thing of talking over people, I don't think you would do that with your clients.
No, I think I'm more. I tend to let them speak more.
So sometimes, being the same, when you're with your friends, it's like, well, I need to get everything out now. I have to just sit and listen. Just sit and listen all day. Now I just need to say everything. I'm taking my moment.
The 10-minute voice notes.
Yeah. This is my space. And I'm
This
taking
is
it.
true, actually. Yeah, yeah. And then I suppose when I've had therapy sessions myself, I find their silence is uncomfortable because obviously you know that you're there, they're giving you space, and I'm like,
Yeah.
because
I've
it's
got
that
nothing to
environment.
say. And I've been in situations, so sometimes I'll use some of my therapy skills when I'm talking to friends
Mm.
and be
That's
a
part
good
of it, though, isn't
listener.
it?
But other times I'm like, I can't bothered.
Done this all day.
I'm just going to
My
tell you what
turn.
I think. Well, no, I'll listen, but I'll just say what I think. I wouldn't do that to a client. I
Mm.
wouldn't try and fix the problem. I wouldn't try and give them advice.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes I might, but generally, I'm not giving advice. I'm there to help them find their own solutions to the problem. Sometimes with friends, it's hard work doing that. It
Mm.
takes thought, it takes effort, it takes consideration, and sometimes with a friend, I don't want to. I can't be bothered.
Mm.
Not all the time, but sometimes I just want to say, you know what, just do this.
Yeah. But if you know them well enough and they're asking for your advice as well, then
Oh no, even when they're not asking.
so do you think that people do you think when you give people advice if they haven't asked for it that they take that in the way that it's meant?
I have upset friends.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Mm.
Thankfully, I have friends that are able, well, not all of them. Some of my friends, I have been told by friends that I've upset them. So
Mm.
I'm sure there are other people that I have upset that haven't told me.
And how did you take the feedback?
Um, well, I take the feedback. I mean, I take it. Do I want to justify and defend? Probably, but
Mm.
I think more recently I've been better at saying sorry,
Yeah.
or saying how I feel. Um, yeah, it can be hard, I think, for
But
me.
should you be apologising for your if it's something that's the real you, even if it does upset somebody else?
Apologising for upsetting them. Yeah, I think in
Mm.
situations it's been valid.
Mm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's
So do you
really
think
complicated.
yeah, so do you think it's not like I'm just sort of it isn't about being perfect then, self-awareness,
I think it's quite
more
the opposite,
open and
isn't
honest
it?
to growth? Yeah,
Isn't it the opposite? It's
being honest with
being
yourself.
aware of who you
Mm.
are, not who you're trying to be or who you think others want you to be. Oh, I don't
Yeah.
know. Because then what if you're in a situation a place you want to be in and everyone else around you is feeling uncomfortable?
And then so then that leads to on the question of who do you think you are?
Well, I think,
Because I don't think I answered it in the way that maybe you thought I was going to answer, or you.
how I perceive you.
Yeah, but that's
I
not. I'm asking you now, so.
yeah. Sorry, should we talk about you
No,
again?
no, 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 no.
You can have
Try
your
and turn
time.
it round.
I I think I am very sensitive. I think I am, and these are things I think might not come across.
Mm.
I'm quite, is shy the wrong word? reserved. I don't think shy is the right word. I'm not shy. I'm reserved.
No, I
And I'm
wouldn't
also,
say you were shy.
no, I'm reserved, but also confident. And I think I have mediocre self-esteem. I don't think I've got amazing self-esteem, but I don't think it's rock bottom. I mean, I do think I deserve some level of respect and kindness. I um, I think that I used to be someone who wanted to be the first to um, exhibit knowing something or having done something. Now I think I've switched that right
Pioneer.
around. Not quite a pioneer. More like if there was a new restaurant opened, I'd want to be the first to go and tell everyone I'd be the first to go. I guess
Okay.
used to be more of like what the Instagram mentality must be.
Superficial level.
I don't know, more, this must be what a lot of people are doing on the social media when they're posting stuff all the time. It's like, I don't know why people are doing that. In fact, that's something I started doing with social media before I posted. I started asking myself, why am I posting it?
Mm,
And more often than not, the reason was like because I want a certain person to see that I've done that, or because I want to have done that thing before anyone else has. This is really exposing.
mm,
And now I've flipped that. So I don't know, that's obviously a level of growth, and I'm not quite sure what in, but I flipped that, and I now have no care for that really. But what that also means is in situations like I was talking about on the authentic relating training, I also don't feel a need to be like shouting my stuff all the time. So I can
mm,
go into a group situation and be very quiet, because when I before I speak, I'm often thinking to myself, what's my purpose here? Why am I wanting to say this thing? And if
mm,
there's not actually a beneficial reason for saying it, I won't really say it, which can
mm.
lead to me just being an observer. But many people are observers because they're scared to speak in group situations, I think. But I'm not
But
scared to
you're
speak.
not.
And
You
so,
just want to give other people the space to talk rather than because I think in the same way it's I think I can be quite overbearing in some situations, so I do tend to not because I can take over conversations, and fully aware of that. My presence,
yeah,
I think. I don't know if it's my energy, perhaps, but I think I'm with you on that. Sometimes you do have to.
I suspect there's a part of you that's similar to me. You're very confident, and I think that can be really hard for some people
Mm,
to have someone who's, oh, maybe this is the thing. What's it called?
mm.
Maybe this is this is like
Oh,
the Sigma.
yeah, yes,
It's like the Sigma thing. You keep yourself back for a period of time, but then when you do speak, I think certainly for me, I wonder, and this is whether I'm self-aware or not, because I don't know. I'm about to say how I am, but this might not be how people perceive me at all. But I wonder if there's like this kind of I'm quiet, and I say nothing, and so people make those preconceived judgments of that person must be quite quiet and shy or whatever, and then suddenly there's something that I think is valid and I have a reason to share some information, and then I'm right there passionately, because if I'm only waiting to talk about the things I'm passionate about, when I do talk
yeah.
about those things, it's forceful and and whatever. um and so suddenly I'm like in your face with this huge barrage of stuff, quite confidently and loudly, and
But then
taking
is that,
taking my
but
moment.
yeah, exactly. So then and then possibly if you haven't said anything, then people would be, um, wanting to hear from you.
Yeah, until they do, and then they regret it. forevermore. They never
Do they
asked to
feel
hear
like they're
from me
going to be
again.
shot?
Yeah. Quivering in their boots. I don't think many people find me scary. It was just a one-off comment. But I think people might find you scary.
Yeah, I'm quite aware of that.
And you
And I
play
don't
on
mind it. I think it served me well. Yeah.
Yeah.
It works well in certain situations and escalates other situations that could probably not be.
Yeah.
But
But you've got
I
your
am fully
friends.
aware. Yeah.
You've got the people who are confident enough to not worry about that.
Yeah.
Other, they've got characteristics that you appreciate, I would imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's our time in life. I think it's if you're our time in life.
I haven't reached your time yet.
I think if you don't have people around you that you can bounce things like this off, then I don't have time for relationships.
You don't know where you'd be.
I just say I don't have time for relationships that don't light me up, I suppose.
Yeah, we've had this conversation, haven't we, about how our friends, I mean, I would like to say that most of my friends now are people that I'm really looking up to. Like there's something about them, and it doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah.
There'll be one thing about them or more, but at least one thing. I'm like,
So just one.
wish I could be more like not I wish I could be more like them.
I know what
but
you mean.
I want to develop that thing that they've got. Like I'm inspired and in awe of most of my friends, and I love that's just such a brilliant place to be. Like I feel really lucky when I think of my friends and think, wow, like you're all bloody amazing.
Yes. It's nice, isn't it? It's healthier relationships now, I think, through better self-awareness than when I was younger.
Yeah.
But then do you get that do you think younger the younger you are, you can have as much self-awareness as can you learn this early on?
I reckon you can, because I have definitely had clients that are young who have got potentially more self-awareness than I've got now. And I think, blimey,
actually, yeah.
like,
Yeah, there's a teenager that I speak to that her emotional intelligence is literally
like off the scale.
Off the scale. Yeah, for her age, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, you really can.
But do you think that's going to the intuitions? Do you think that's intuitive, or is that learned behaviour from that early age, being that self-aware?
I think to some extent it must be learned. I think other people have put themselves in situations, like I'm thinking of one person in particular who is a client, and when I talk to them, I feel like I'm talking to someone the same age as me, and I have to keep reminding myself that they're maybe like 24, but they speak like someone in their 40s and beyond. They're so attuned, but they have done things like lived in communities abroad, like conscious communities abroad and things like that. So if you're doing it, but not for long periods of time, but even if you do it for 3 months, 6 months, and every day you're doing something to work on yourself, then you're going to develop pretty quickly. But then there's moments where I'm reminded that they're still young. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think healthy, it's a sort of more personal growth than the emotional regulation and healthier relationships then from self-awareness.
So maybe when we put this podcast out, some people will comment and tell us how we come across. Say
and how I didn't really answer your question, because I'm self-aware enough to know that.
Yeah, but you're protecting.
Yes.
You're protecting yourself. It's all right.
Well,
we'll get there
afterwards.
We'll get there at some point. We've got time. We've got space. I've done my fair few diverts. Right.
Should we end that there then, Julia?
I think we should end that there.
Lovely chatting to you.
Yeah, lovely chatting to you too.
Together we'll grow. Grow together, we'll grow, grow, grow.